The reason why we're hosting this event together with my colleague Ivailo Kalfin with the Socialist and Democrat group of this Parliament, who will introduce some thoughts soon, is that we've seen a very lively but also complex discussion taking place about ACTA over the past couple of months. And some people have said that ACTA is now dead. I can assure you it is not. It ain't over till it's over. The final vote still has to be cast.
Given the fact that ACTA was an agreement that was negotiated in secrecy practically behind closed doors, the Commission is not very happy with this finding, but the fact is that we all knew that there are negotiations, we all knew what was the ultimate goal of these negotiations, but the texts over these years since 2008 were mostly leaked, and everything that has been discussed was on most of the occasions leaked through various channels.
The fact that the agreement was negotiated in secret and there was very limited access by consumer groups and the general public to negotiations, I don't think was really an accident. I mean, it was the opinion of a lot of people that ACTA was launched in response to reforms that were undertaken at the World Intellectual Property Organization, which really opened up the organization by liberalizing their accreditation procedure and giving consumer groups and free software organizations, all sorts of public interest and development groups, much more access to the discussions. And the consequences were a change in the outcomes of those negotiations. So I think that the right owner groups that had really pushed the ACTA process, particularly the copyright industry, were really interested in having something that was really closed off.
Libraries are explicitly connected to national and international copyright systems. We play an important role in both preserving and making available access to information that is in copyright or the public domain. In this context, IFLA understands and respects the role that copyright plays in information creation and dissemination around the world, and our members place the highest emphasis on compliance with copyright principles and regulations.
We were alerted by the NGO La Quadrature du Net on the dangers of ACTA, and we looked at it more closely, and what we found out we didn't like. Clearly, Reporters Without Borders recognizes the need to protect intellectual property, but we believe it has to be adapted to the digital age, and we believe that the ACTA agreement is the wrong solution. We believe that ACTA, as it stands today, does endanger freedom of information online and freedom of expression online in the name of the fight against copyright infringement.
Article 19 has three main criticisms of ACTA. The first is that ACTA fails adequately to protect freedom of expression. The second is that the criminal provisions in ACTA lack the legal certainty required under international law under Article 10 of the European Convention of Human Rights, as well as Article 52 of the Charter of Fundamental Rights. And thirdly, ACTA promotes the private enforcement of intellectual property rights at the expense of freedom of expression, the right to privacy, and due process.
Every time you read the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, you'll be struck by the visionary and comprehensive nature of a document that was adopted over 50 years ago. Not only did the drafters of this document understand that we all have very similar needs and desires as human beings, but they also saw that what brings us together is our need to be unique. In essence, we all want to be safe, we want to be healthy, we want to be free, and we want to develop and express and share our unique beliefs and thoughts in peace.
There were very big concerns about how ACTA was negotiated in secret and without transparency, and that raised a lot of issues, certainly about the process. But beyond that, I think it also raised serious concerns about what got left out of the discussion. And certainly part of that was the view of key stakeholders, which is what we've been hearing today from many of those key stakeholders who were left out of that discussion. But it also left out many of the facts and data about what is actually happening around the world. And this is important because when it comes to policy questions around copyright and other intellectual property issues, it is very common to make some very big assumptions that aren't necessarily fact-based.
We think that ACTA introduces measures that will create legal uncertainty on SMEs in the ICT domain for data that they transmit and host. Why? Because the signing parties undertake to ensure that criminal sanctions for aiding and abetting infringement on a commercial scale is available. This means that with the threat of criminal sanctions, small service providers may be pressured by right holders to cooperate with responsibility to deter infringements, for instance by blocking websites, cutting off users, and so on.
ACTA is contributing to a fundamental shift in the way the world sees US control of key internet infrastructure and the EU's support for free speech and democracy. Support for ACTA lends credibility to ludicrous proposals by other countries to end the current multi-stakeholder model of internet governance. Now, civil society and other respected institutions, from the EDPS to the OSCE to the EESC, have long criticized this agreement.
Oxfam strongly oppose ACTA on public health grounds because we think it's ineffective, it's misleading, it's undemocratic, and it's dangerous. A lot of the previous speakers talked about it being undemocratic and how it was perceived and came to being, or came to potential being. So I'll leave that and I'll look at the other issues. So in terms of being ineffective, yes, we definitely have a problem with quality of medicines in developing countries.
So ACTA, and Oxfam also pointed that out, uses this public health rationale as a pretext to push for stronger IPR enforcement rights. Increases the risk and threat of litigation and sanctions for generic competitors, and they are so important for bringing down prices, which is crucial to ensure access to affordable medicines.
Another little anecdote that stems from something that has been said earlier is that when I buy medicines at the pharmacist actually writes the non-generic, the brand, on the generic medicines box. I wonder whether that would qualify under Article 5D of the general definitions of ACTA. And consequently, if I were to transit via an airport or be controlled by the police, whether I would be infringing the law, or even if my pharmacist is infringing the law when doing that.
EGE spent a year looking at ethical issues related to information and computer communication technologies. At no stage did the European Commission mention ACTA during that full year, to the point where when we produced our report in January this year, we had to say that had we known about ACTA, we would formally have commented quite clearly on that particular treaty. We didn't.